Social media has changed a lot for us, yes, for our world, because we get to see the lives of others from a viewer's perspective. So we assume that we are living their lives. And a lot of times, the experience people put out online are only curated, are only crafted. Because of how much of other people's life we are seeing, we get to assume that we are living their lives. In doing that, we forget our own life, our own journey, our own processes. Hello, everyone. This is Mark Roberts, and you're welcome to Unearthing. This is a podcast get towards helping you improve your identity, your impacts, income, and intimacy. And today we're going to be sharing on a very interesting subject, and that is the subject of authenticity, staying true to your journey. Social media has changed a lot for us, yes, for our world, because we get to see the lives of others from a viewer's perspective. We get to see their highlights reels. So we assume that we are living their lives. And a lot of times, truly, the experience of people put out online are only curated, are only created, are only crafted, because of course we all know that nobody goes to the bed with the camera on. Yes, nobody. So when you see someone waking up, that means they actually acted waking up, except they kept the camera there. But that's fine, okay. But what I'm trying to say is that because of how much of other people's life we are seeing, we get to assume that we are living their lives. In doing that, we forget our own life, our own journey, our own processes. One of the things that has become common is that the vertical line is being blurred, the vertical divide. Our society are in stratas because of the previous experience of generations of others. You imagine that you are in a time, you're living in a generation, or you're staying in a space, and you're seeing somebody whose grandfather was one time the governor, and by the exposure to influence and affluence, the privileges that he has is different, but you're assuming that your reality should be like his. So whenever you see his life being put out there, you're feeling bad, you're lacking joy, you're pained, you're jealous, you're envious. That doesn't make sense, but that's what social media presents to us. So this episode is to help you know that, first of all, know that your journey is different. Our journeys are different. Our processes are different. Accept yours. Accept the fact that maybe your generation is the first generation of Christians. That means you need to deal with a lot from the previous generation. Maybe your first generation is the first generation of those who are educated. That's why I like some schools in the United States that actually celebrate those who are going to college for the first time in their generation, and they give awards to that. And this is one thing we don't do over here. See, you're going to school, like college, for the first time in your entire generation. That is to be celebrated. Yes, that's because those who have gone before, they might have put certain structures for their next generation to make them better. But you, who is the first generation, you feel bad. You're feeling down. No, you should actually celebrate your wins. One of the stories that I heard that really inspired me on being authentic to myself is the counsel of a certain father of faith in our country, Nigeria, to a younger minister. And he told him this, in his word, he said this: you have nothing to prove. And I want to say this to every one of us listening, including myself. You have nothing to prove. And this is one thing I tell myself every day: you have nothing to prove. Yes, at the end of the day, your accountability is to God. Of course, you have accountability to your peers and the people around you. But then you don't live life as though you're trying to prove a point that you're better off than somebody. You're better off than your community. No. I say this: if you're on a rat race, even if you win the race, you're still a rat. So just check out from that race and stay true to your own race, the unique assignment that God has designed for you. When you do this, you begin to celebrate the little wins. You begin to genuinely see things for what they are. You begin to see the struggles in your space, knowing that these are labors you need to make for the next generation. You will stop feeling discouraged with the progress of others, but actually seeing it as an actual inspiration, knowing that, okay, if I'm not able to achieve this in my generation, I'm setting a foundation for the next generation. Some of us, our role is just to break a certain path open. The people who will come into the fullness of gospel, maybe the next generation. Let's accept life in that part. Understand that you have a contribution to a bigger assignment that is greater than you. Do not just sit and try to assume that your role is that of the other. That is why the first thing we must all do is to have a healthy sense of identity, seeing ourselves as God sees us. Have a healthy sense of purpose, knowing our assignments, knowing the part we have to play, knowing the role we have to do. We must have this. Let it be our drive. Know what you're called to do. You're not called to do everything. You're not sent to do everything. Because someone does the thing doesn't mean you should do it. That people who believe that they are content creators. A lot of us, we are going to create content, but not for a livelihood. Not everything you want to put out there because you see someone doing that. Maybe that's not your part. That's not your assignment. Maybe because of the level of assignment you have, there's certain aspect of your life that shouldn't be public. But then because you see someone else do that, you're tempted to do that. No. Understand your own assignments. Stay true to it. Another thing you must learn to do is to track your progress and celebrate your wins. Yes, track how far you've come. Track what you're working on. Track what you ought to do. Look around you. Pray to God. Know what God has sent you for. Clarify your assignment, but then start tracking. How far have you come? Something happened to me a few days ago. And yes, it's something that's really got me thinking. And it's something, let me be vulnerable about this. So I checked my journal. I checked a document that God revealed to me, things I jotted down about my life. And this was something I wrote more than 7 years ago. And I was seeing it and I was saying how far I've not come close to what he has said. And it gave me the redress I needed. But then I felt really bad. And yes, I'm putting it out there. But I've seen other aspects of my life that are working and people are celebrating those aspects. But me, I know deep down that the basis of which God will judge me is not what people are seeing, is what God has told me. And there are people like that who maybe they are just caught up in the euphoria of the celebrations, or they are actually pursuing a race to gain the celebration or the attention or the applause of people based on what others are doing without really focusing on what they are supposed to do. You need to track your progress in line with what God has said. And finally, you must learn to trust God's timing. Yes, trust God's timing. God has a rhythm in your life. He has a timing. You must understand the rhythm. Understand your seasons and take advantage of every season. There are seasons to learn. There are seasons to grow. There are seasons where you need to manifest. Know each moment and take full advantage of it. Don't just get lost in your own journey. And because you are very fixed in the life of others, you're trying to keep up with the different lifestyle shows or the different celebrity lifestyle. Ask yourself, what is happening in my life? What season am I in? Invest in it. Stay true to it. As you do it, you see yourself that you will constantly become the best God created you to be.